Sackings, backings and litigation.
All Cardinal and Myrtle roads lead to Unk.
Unk who?
Uncle Wayne, baby.
And kicking off on kickoffs.
Annesley, it's all a heap of rubbish. This is the Grapple podcast. Joel Spreadborough, to my immediate left. My name's Johnny Manning.
Good evening.
How are you, mate?
Tickled pink, mate. 12 episodes.
And counting.
This
Who'd
is the
have thunk
dozen.
it?
Yeah.
The dirty dozen.
Yep.
You're not tickled Cardinal and Myrtle?
Well, I'm disillusioned. I'm not a massive fan, but I'm just like...
Are you disgruntled?
A little, discombobulated.
I'm totally gruntled. I'm not.
Are you? You're not. You're gruntled by
I'm
it.
gruntled. I'm fine. I feel sorry for a fella who's lost his job.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
Sure.
He's got mortgage payments. He's got mouths to feed. So I feel sorry for a guy who's lost his job. But, you know, we'll get into it later.
We will.
It's Jackson Topine we're talking about.
Context is always important on this show. Jackson Topine losing his job. And you know, in the press release, because they didn't get up straight away to talk about it, but they said, you know, we wish him all the best, his wife, his daughters, his family.
You know what I didn't hear, which was bizarre in the lead up to this?
Yeah.
That he had the full support of the board. We didn't hear that.
Didn't hear that at all, which is usually the portent of death. That's the Grim Reaper, like sticking its hook into your neck.
It's the death knell.
Yeah, it is. The scythe across the throat. It's like, fucking say it, do one more time, I will slit you. Yeah, it didn't happen. But again, like, it's one of those things. They've won one game all year. They had a shit of a finish last year. Proud club. Question around this is, it's the Wayne curse. Coaches that
The
follow
wanker?
Wayne.
Oh, the Wayne curse. I thought you said the Wayne
There've
curse.
been a couple of wankers in there, but that's not relevant at the moment. Just the Wayne curse.
But here's the thing: 25 minutes against Melbourne in Melbourne, they were holding their hands up,
in it up to their necks,
and then all of a sudden, pop, 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 they're done by half time.
and some of those tries when Melbourne really got going, you would have loved it. A couple of gems off kicks.
Fucking tries off kicks.
You love a try. Anyway, this is the Grapple. 12 episodes in. Somehow we're still here. Like, share, subscribe. A good reason for us to get to episode 13 today. We've got a very, very special guest joining us.
Representative of the jersey I'm wearing here today. This is a original NRL 1998 caliber Cowboys jersey. There's
Game match worn.
probably.
Yep.
Not by me, but probably.
Yep.
Indicative of that year was the year our special guest today made his debut.
His actual
NRL.
debut.
His actual debut.
Okay.
Not the first time he was selected to play first grade
Not
rugby
his
league.
faux debut.
Yeah, the faux debut that those scoundrels and you know red tape tapers at the NRL decided wouldn't go ahead. It's probably the ARL back then, actually.
I'd have to ask and find out. I'd
2
say,
years earlier.
yeah, not 98. Well,
Nice.
98 was unification year.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
So this is
But,
we're talking pre-Super League, post New South Wales Rugby League.
Yep.
Which is ARL.
Dissolution into ARL, into Super League, into Optus Cup. That was around that time. Remember the Optus Cup?
That was 1996.
Yeah.
The Optus
Yeah,
NRL
yeah.
Premiership.
Optus, and
ARL Premiership.
then it comes all the way round.
The full circle. It's the circle of life.
I love it though. It's like a game gets by on 70, 80 years of if you're good enough, you're old enough. Until that theory actually gets tested by someone who is good enough but is deemed not old enough.
Not old enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's get into it, shall we?
Let's get right into it. Johnny Manning. So it is a very, very big welcome to a guy who's going to tell us all about the inner workings of every club in the NRL and dish dirt, whether he realises it or not. A very, very warm welcome to the Grapple podcast, Mr. Josh Hannay.
Where is he? There he is on the screen.
G'day, how are we?
We're well, mate.
Right? Yeah. Thanks for asking, Josh.
Mate, coming to us from the Shire as your position now as assistant coach of the Cronulla Sharks, the high-flying Cronulla Sharks, I might add.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like we've got a lot to ask you about given the current state of the game, but we did just reference the fact that you did make your debut in 1998 wearing a jersey of this ilk, but you were selected to play 2 seasons before, mate, as a 16-year-old. And, you know, I can actually...
16.
I can remember this, right? Here we go. Here's my story of it.
Okay.
I came into the gym and I was talking to Murray Hurst, who was a I think he might have been an assistant first grade coach or the under-19s coach at the same time. And Josh walked past, just sort of nodded, and I was like, hey. And Murray Hurst said, he's playing first grade this week. And I went, who? And he said, Josh. Josh was probably in his school gear from Townsville Granmar. And I was like, he's playing fucking first grade.
He's what now?
Yeah.
And you're just like, I'm so happy for him.
I'm like, I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. It's a bit of a circus. What do you remember from that sort of week, Josh?
Hey, yeah, circus indeed. I remember overnight life changed for me, that's for sure. I was kid from Moranbah, on scholarship at the Cowboys, going to Townsville Granmar. As a normal, I guess, 16-year-old kid doing grade 11, life was pretty standard. And then, yeah, it all changed overnight when I got selected for the Cowboys. A lot of national media and attention. And then it was pretty intense for a couple of days. And then by Thursday, the decision came down that I was too young. So it was like an intense cyclone, that was building up and then just petered out into a rain depression.
How did you take that news when you got the call or whatever saying, "Oh, you're not playing"?
Listen, it's hard to actually remember what I was thinking or feeling in the moment. I remember one of the things I do remember is there was a lot of positive media, and one of the negative articles that came across sort of my desk was they got a comment off Tommy Radonicus. We were playing the West Magpies that week, and Tommy Radonicus, as we all know, fiercely competitive, and I was going to be coming up against Brandon Pearson, who was a good centre in his own right. I think might have been the country centre at that point. But anyway, Tommy's comments were, don't care how young this kid is, we're going to go after him and knock his block off. So it all became pretty real once I heard that from Tommy.
Yeah, welcome to first grade.
So what you're saying is the overwhelming emotion was one of relief, Josh.
Yeah.
So what happened? You sort of go back to the drawing board like that, the cusp of that massive, but obviously you got there anyway, but like that road, that wait then, it must have been interminable because you're like, gee whiz, I was on the cusp.
Yeah, it was an interesting, I guess, fallout from it all, because the competition I was playing at the time, and I think me and Menno might have been the same side. Very like in this young gun side, just playing in the local Townsville under-19 competition from memory. So we're a side made up of players anywhere from probably the age of 16 to 18 and 19 from memory. I could be wrong here with my detail, but so I basically went back to just playing local footy in Townsville, and probably in the short term there was a burden, that I guess exposure and that attention and that that limelight was probably a burden in the immediate term, because I guess for me, the expectation now was I wasn't really under the radar any longer. I was going back to play, local grounds around Townsville, and for me personally, it's probably a weight of expectation of every time I took the field, I was expected to be the star and score 4 or 5 tries every game, and that probably weighed on me for a little bit until I was able to move on and I guess life got back to normal for me, and I guess I was a little bit more realistic of my own expectations, and that sort of allowed me to, I guess, move on and lead a normal career.
A couple of years later, 18 years old, out you go. Debut here. I've got very thorough research here on the Grapple, Josh. I've got the Wikipedia page.
I remember watching it.
16-15 win.
Yeah, 2 tries for this fella against Parramatta.
Not bad.
Right? Yeah, couple of goals.
The double. Then a hat trick in round 23 of that year. So you debuted in round 3. Absolute try-scoring machine from the get-go.
I think you held the rookie try-scoring record for a while. I think maybe, I can't remember.
Possibly. Possibly. And at the moment, I'm actually reliving a lot of this because my 2 boys, 8 and 10 years old, they're getting to that inquisitive kind of age. So they're starting to actually, for the first time in their lives, ask me to look at old vision and just I think more than anything, just to prove that I actually did what I did. So we've been scouring through YouTube, clips lately, and they're very inquisitive, and they're like, Dad, just show us your best game and show us, show us something you did well. And it's not, there's actually not a lot out there. That's the sad part. I didn't have too many highlights, but the 3-try game against Manly at Brookvale is actually on YouTube. So we're able to sort of go through and show them that game the other night.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that game was a 28-12 loss. So you've scored all the points for the Cowboys. And I've got the stats here. He's gone on to finish as the side's top try scorer, top point scorer. And then injuries, mate. The curse, we speak about it often on this show, especially this year, the plight of the injured. They played a bit of a role for you early on. Josh, how'd you stay up?
Oh, yeah, that was one, I guess, part of my journey and part of my story. But if I'm to be brutally honest, the more crippling situation for me was probably brought on, it was self-inflicted. It was just general laziness. I'll be really blunt. And I was telling this story. I was at a mental league function the other day, and it was very similar to this. They're bringing up my history, and we're talking about, I guess, my journey, and I, on reflection, when I got picked as a 16-year-old, it was probably, one of the worst things that could have happened to me in terms of getting so much so soon. I signed a 5-year deal. Basically, immediately, once I was selected, I signed a 5-year contract, which is probably unheard of, certainly in that era for a 16-year-old. And regrettably, it did lead to just a lot of bad habits. So I spent probably the next 2, 3, 4 years just living on reputation, playing on reputation. And it wasn't until a gentleman by the name of Billy Johnstone came along that kicked my ass and showed me what true hard work was. And Menno could tell you as many stories about Billy as I could, but he's probably the greatest single influence on my career that I ever had, because talent and understanding the game of rugby league was something that came naturally, but hard work clearly didn't. And it wasn't until Billy came into my professional life that I was able to, I guess, reset, realign, and get back on the right track. And from about the years of 2002 to 2005, I was able to have 3 or 4 really good years, and I put that all down to Billy Johnstone coming to the club.
Bill, I was talking to Jason Hetherington about Billy Johnstone 2 weeks ago, and he basically says the same thing that everyone says. Number one, he should be in prison for the pain he inflicted on everyone. But number two, I said to Jason Hetherington, I said he made me a man, and there are things that he taught me and habits that he taught me that have served me probably more in later life than they did in my football career. Got me the fittest I'd ever been.
Yeah. As
Josh said, taught me what hard work was, but just taught me that resilience to get through things in life that I don't reckon I would have got through without, the shit that Bill put us through.
If Jackson Topine had come across Billy Johnstone, he'd be probably asking for death sentence for Billy Johnstone.
Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Mate. The drill he allegedly had to do was wrestle 30 guys in 15 minutes, 30 seconds. He did it because he was late. I mean, the amount of penalties I've had to do, well, not the amount, because I wasn't late that very often. You're late once and you never fucking do it again because you get destroyed with penalties. Is this situation something that surprised you, that this is now in litigation?
Yeah, it has, and I think if you listen to the general feedback, people who are external to the situation, their opinions, ex-players, even media, I think they're all of the same opinion that there's no doubt that the guy was probably subjected to a fairly rigorous training session that probably made him feel pretty uncomfortable, but it's pretty normal within. I can only speak to the NRL here. I can't speak to AFL and other professional sporting bodies, but certainly it's pretty normal practice within the NRL that there's an understanding when you sign that contract that there's an understanding that you're signing up to a certain set of standards, right? Be on time, present professionally at all times, train hard at all times. Training hard doesn't mean you're always going to be first, but there's always an expectation that you front up ready to work hard. And if you do overstep any marks or you step outside the guidelines, that every player is really clear of their expectations and responsibilities to the organisation. Everyone's really clear about that. When any season starts, every player goes into it knowing what the expectations are. And if you don't meet those expectations, you're also fully aware of what the repercussions can be. So we have our own set of guidelines here, if you like, about if players turn up late or don't turn up on time or wear the wrong clothing. We have our own way that we handle that, and it does include hard training. So I don't think it's foreign, and I think there's a lot of support for the Bulldogs in this instance.
Is it the same for everyone? If Nico Hines rocks up late next week, same thing?
Yeah, we ideally you don't want to have to put players. It's not something that a coach or high performance trainers enjoy. Like, it's not something we actually enjoy doing. But the reality is players do step out of line. And we've had players from probably guys that are in the bottom part of our top 30 squad to guys that would be considered at the top or echelon of our squad, miss the mark with certain things, whether it's late to training or wrong apparel, and they're treated identically.
Mm. Going back to just quickly, as a great person to talk about this, we're talking about 16-year-old Josh Hannay being on the cusp, walking around Cowboys HQ in your school uniform. Mate, how did you feel the standards were then? Were you ever thinking, shit, this is a little bit much, these guys are being a bit harsh? Or was it just from the get-go? Was that just how it was and you accepted it?
I got to say, I never in my time as a player and as a coach, I felt like I've been in an environment where there's been unfair treatment of players or fellow staff members. I feel like, as I say, I can only talk from my own experiences, but there's an acute awareness by football clubs around their responsibilities and how they need to treat everybody, as I say, players and staff alike. So my experiences, and I go back to when I came into the league as a 16-year-old, I've never witnessed anything that I thought was unfair or unwarranted. I've certainly witnessed toughness and challenge and struggle, and I've seen a lot of that, but never to the point of going, no, that's unwarranted, and as John touched on, we worked under a guy that was synonymous with hard work, and his reputation preceded him in Billy Johnstone. But we all saw that as a privilege to be under the guidance of such a guy that, and John touched on this again. Like, I too carry a lot of those lessons that that Billy taught me into how I coach now, around just discipline, hard work, honesty, and basically you can't succeed without those things.
I know I found places that I didn't think I could go to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You push through these walls, you find new parts of yourself, think, shit, it's not going to kill me. I can actually exist at that level of exhaustion, and I can go a little bit further, and those things, like that resilience that sort of training and that sort of expectation of effort gives you.
Yeah.
And it's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But also the thing is, that's what everyone else in the team expects of you as well, not just your trainer. It's when you take the field. I always say that ultimately, fella on either side of you, you're putting your safety in their hands and they're putting their safety in your hands, because it's a team sport.
Yeah.
It's very physical. It's very difficult to do. So you have to have that trust, not just about the result, but about your personal safety as well. You need to know that this fella's going to have the lungs and the effort to back you up in a tackle, or when you're being tackled. If you're in a position, if back in the day, if there was a stink on, it's a trust thing. If someone's not going to put that effort in, man, the team doesn't like it. And Billy taught us all that as well. You know, he would tell us if there were people not making times, he would say, well, do you want to keep doing penalties, or do you want these guys to go home and come back and train with me later? And the team would make the decision.
Yeah, right.
If I may, I'll share a story with you. Look, I remember there was a time, and this would seem fairly mundane, but it was, again, I knew I'd done the wrong thing, and this is the expectation when you sign up as a player. You know those expectations. But I didn't report an injury post game, and there's a set of rules whenever you play. If you've got some kind of injury that you think is going to prevent you from being able to run during the week, you present it. You let the physio know. The physio would then let the high performance trainer know, which in this case is Billy Johnson. And I didn't go through the right process, and I went out and had a drink, injured. But I fronted up to training on the Monday or Tuesday, and I said, I can't train. I've got a tight calf or something. And then the question was, well, did you report? And I was like, no. Well, did you have a drink? I was like, well, yes. And Bill was, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So, okay, so meet at the club at the old dairy farmers facility there, and it was a bike ride out to Woodstock. And Woodstock return was about an 80-kilometre bike ride. And generally we would do that in the pre-season, but in large groups. So you might be in a group of 10 where you're sharing the lead. And as you know, when you're on those rides, if you're at the back, you're kind of slipstreaming, and it's a lot easier than being at the front. But it was me and Bill, just the two of us, and he sat on my tyre the entire way. He made me lead the whole way. But I did that, and it wasn't like I didn't deserve that. It was like, well, I broke the rules, and I knew some form of punishment was coming, and that was totally warranted. And that was just what you signed up for.
Mm. I'd take the 15-minute wrestling over that ride to Woodstock.
With every opponent.
Horrible.
Yeah.
I'd wrestle him twice.
Yeah.
Rather than do
is
that
Billy
shit.
Johnson a human, or is he a machine?
He's a machine.
Inanimate carbon alloy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Josh,
he's not human.
Coaching, mate. So you've had a couple of caretaker roles, assisting obviously with the Sharks, involved with the Maroons setup. Let's start with the news first. Get your reaction, Demetrio. It's a bloody tough old game, isn't it? It can't be easy, I guess, knowing how hard it is, seeing fellow coaches, assistant coaches, whatever it is, get let go.
Yeah. It's I've had the misfortune, if you want to put it that way, of stepping in for two SAC head coaches. So I feel like I'm acutely aware of, I guess, that circumstance, that environment, how those players would be feeling right now. To a degree, how Jason would be feeling right now, and certainly to a degree how Ben Hornby would be feeling right now. And when you go through this, it shines a bright light on the brutality of what we do. I love what I do, and I feel like it's a privilege to do what I do. But when these circumstances arise, it does shine, as I say, a bright light on just how brutal the industry is, how public it all is. There's just no hiding from it. And I've, the two instances I've been through with Paul Green and John Morris here at Cronulla, the one thing I couldn't get away from is the impact it actually has on the people that actually aren't inside the building, the families. Like when you join an organisation, you immerse yourself in that club. So your wife's friends become the wives of other coaches and players. Your children become their friends become children of other people within the organisation, and the fallout for me that goes beyond the actual rugby league club, that sort of external fallout, if you like, of families and children and all that to me is the part I found most jarring, because it's, as I say, you immerse yourself in that environment wholly. It's not just you going to work and coaching, and you drag your family along for the ride, and they're right there on the front line with you. So I always, my mind goes to that area, and I would feel for Jason's family right now, because followed him and his journey and his path and his dream to be a head coach. And now I don't know what the next step for Jason will be, but they're going to leave behind close friends. The kids are going to leave behind best friends that they've made, and that to me is the jarring side of it. Yeah.
And what about, you said you're acutely aware of what Hornby's going through. How do you address the playing group once, this message has come out that the head coach is gone? I mean, is it just, okay, guys, we've got a job to do, we just have to get to work, or do you open the floor? Does anyone have anything to say? How did you address it when you took it over, and did you learn something from the first time that you didn't or did do the second time?
Yeah, it's bloody hard. Both situations were very different. I can talk to the John Morris one because it's fresher, and I can recall it really clearly. I was very mindful of showing John respect, because John had given me the opportunity to come down and coach and work at this club. And I had no previous relationship with John. We didn't know each other. We weren't friends. But in the brief time we worked together, I found him, a good guy. And we became friends. His wife became friends with my wife. And so you develop this attachment that goes beyond just the working relationship. So I felt for John, and for me, I was very mindful in showing respect for John. It wasn't just, I made really sure that I didn't just address the group and disrespect John by just saying, hey, we need to just move on and forget what's happened, and we got a job to do here. For me, and this would be the same, I reckon, at South Sydney for Jason. There would be there'd be players in that room that were huge supporters of Jason's, and there would be players in that room that not so much, that could take or leave Jason. And that was the same here at Cronulla. I knew that John had some really strong relationships with players within that playing group, and I knew there were other guys that really, weren't so attached. So you need to be mindful of that dynamic, that there are some guys that just were so close to that coach. And if you stand in front of that group and you show a level of disrespect in your first address to the group, and it's just, hey, boys, let's move on, forget about John, we've got a job to do. In my opinion, you'll lose those guys straight away, because they will see you as being disrespectful, disingenuous, and callous. So it's very important to read the room in that regard, and be respectful of the person that's lost their position, and then at the right time you do start to become more and more performance driven, because you do have a job to do. You do need to move on, and the way to make everyone feel good about life again is to start winning games of football again. So there is this cycle where you have to go through the hurt and the pain and massage, I guess, people's feelings. But soon enough there is a point where it's like, okay, we got a job to do here, and how are we going to win this game of football?
Well, that's a really interesting insight into that side of it. The other side of it is they're going to have to replace him, Josh. So this is as good a place as any to break some news. Have they contacted you for the job, mate? Exclusive.
No. I've had no contact. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. I know, and I think it's no secret who they would be the top of their Christmas list, and I think it'll be a matter of whether that individual wants the job.
I believe the individual he's referring to is Wayne Bennett.
Oh, look, I've got a commitment. I've got a contract that I've signed.
Yeah, I'm going to coach the Dolphins for another couple of games, and then
a couple of games, and then go back to the whole. I wanted more time to start with, so I'll keep going. Josh Hannay, did he deserve it? One win in the year, tough year last year. Yeah, I think. And I only went through this process today because you get caught up in the hysteria of, the process. Are the club doing the right thing? How hard it is on Jason. But and I actually took a breath today and I looked at the facts, right? The wins, losses, where they sit on the ladder, points for and against, all those things, and you look at the roster. So when you start to look at I guess the picture in a black and white
sense of wins, losses, numbers, all those types of things, it's hard to argue that that maybe change was needed, because they went out the end of last year and signed Jack White. Now, Jack White's not a signing, in my opinion, where you're building for the future. That's a signing that we're of the impression as a club that we're in a win now situation. And less than 12 months ago, they were top of the table. So you can kind of understand why they had that belief that they were in a win now situation, and going out and getting Jack White and to only add to that group of theirs. So when you look at it, they won 5 games out of their last 20. They're sitting last. Their worst defensive team in the competition. Those you just can't ignore those numbers, those cold hard facts, I guess. So it kind of makes the decision understandable. Yeah, unfortunately.
Mate, conversely, the team that you're part of at the moment, sitting pretty co-leaders of the competition, couple of really big wins in the last couple of weeks against teams that aren't, they're no slouches.
Well, we called the Canberra Sharks match because we're really good tippers on this show.
Oh, fuck,
Josh.
we're good
really
tippers,
good
mate.
tippers.
We're great.
And we said match of the round, no doubt about it.
I was sitting in the Paddo Tavern after the Dolphins game, which I tipped the fucking Dolphins too, and they'd lost.
Cannot lose. Sitting
there with a schooner of my favourite bevy, just watching you guys pile on the points. Did you expect that result, at least?
Certainly, no, I didn't expect that type of scoreboard dominance. I think, we are in a good space as a group at the moment. We're playing the game the way we want to play it, without going into too much detail. Like on both sides of the footy, we're seeing a lot of things that we have worked hard to achieve, and the guys are going out there executing. So we feel like there's a level of consistency with our game at the moment that gives us confidence. But our record against Canberra, down at Canberra, was woeful. We knew they'd be up for Ricky's 500th game as a coach, coming off of the Fogarty injury. So I think Ricky's a master at kind of the siege mentality and getting guys up for backs against the wall performance. So we knew there's a lot of factors that weren't in our favour. So the one thing our guys were able to just go down and do, and we had a bit of a disruptive week ourselves with Dale Finucane announcing his retirement and Braden Crindle's issue. So it was a week where we like what we're seeing with our football, but we rocked up to Canberra Stadium Sunday, really on edge, I think, about how we were going to play given the week we had and the kind of performance we were going to get from our opponent, given what they'd been through, and what they had to play for. So come out with a 40-0 scoreline, like it looks like a hammering, but that game, the first 20 minutes was ding-donging, and they weren't giving too much away. We weren't giving anything away ourselves, and we really had to earn that 18-point halftime lead. And then, I think with that came some confidence and belief that we were able to go on with. So really, really impressive win. And hopefully, our guys are, starting to develop some consistency.
I want to ask you about Fitzy, Craig Fitzgibbon. So recent weeks, we don't need to get into the weeds about this, but obviously Dale Finucane calling it a day. Braden Trindle getting in a bit of strife. Who knows what the penalty, weighing up what's going to go there. But let's not get into it. What role has Fitzy played keeping them together, keeping them united? Obviously, seeing results like this when shit like that's going on is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think the most obvious thing to me when I talk about Fitzy as a head coach that is a standout is his ability to to create a culture and get a group of players to buy into that culture and just drive that culture day in, day out. I think that's what sets him apart from a lot of coaches I've been involved with. When I worked at the Cowboys under Greeny, tactically, X's and O's, like just the highest level guy you could possibly work alongside. So with Fitzy, to me, the thing that features most with his coaching is how he drives culture. And I think culture is it's a funny word, culture. Like, it's this word that can mean so many things, and everyone has their own culture, and we've tried to set our own culture here. And I think the job that I see Fitzy doing every day in creating a culture, setting a standard for our guys to try and achieve day in, day out, I think that's been impressive, and it's been the thing that's held us in good stead over this last 7 days, through the distraction of both Dale Finucane and the Brain Trindle situation.
Well, just on that culture, and that culture being driven by the gaffer or the head bloke, when you're involved with this team, what's that culture like, driven by Bill?
Never any bias on this show, by the way, so keep it nice and balanced.
As you can see, there's New South Wales jerseys around here.
Everywhere. So that's one, isn't it? Oh no, sorry, it's not a Queensland one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, that culture has been one that I think, and it's what's sustained us, I think, as a state. It's basically been like a baton that's been handed down from one era to the next, and it's just, there's never been a perceived break or gap in that culture, and what it means to represent the state, what it means to have the privilege to wear that jersey and play for our fellow Queenslanders. And I think what Bill's been able to do really clearly is, as I say, take that baton and drive that culture that's been established for so many years now. I think he sees it as his responsibility as the head coach of the Queensland side now. I think he really sees it as his responsibility to not only grab it but strengthen it and ensure that it lives long after we've all moved on. So he's a wonderful motivator, Bill, in terms of his ability to have a really clear grasp on the culture. That it is to be and represent Queensland. He's wonderful at driving that. And listen, it's not magic. Like, it's just a lot of simple things, around humility, how you carry yourself, and being a teammate that others around you can trust. Not trust in the good times, but more importantly, trust when your backs are against the wall. I think that's pretty synonymous with you think about the Queensland State of Origin history. Our greatest wins have been when our backs have been to the wall. Even in these last two series that we've been involved with, Game 1 in Adelaide last year, and Game 3 in Brisbane in 22, backs against the wall performances. And you can't fluke those performances if your culture isn't so strong, and you don't have, as I say, that understanding of trusting the person, trusting the people around you. And just a really staunch humility that we just go out and we work hard for each other, and no one's trying to hog the limelight. No one's doing it for their own gain. It's an understanding that it's for the jersey and the state. You
made your own debut, 2003. This is going back 21 years. You're talking about that baton being passed on. How different was the culture? How similar was the culture?
A lot of similarities. Like, I remember when I first got into camp, it was daunting. Like, I was surrounded by Darren Lockyer, Gordon Tallis, Wayne Bennett was the coach. There was Alfie Langer was on staff. It was daunting, but they were. Things that were being said in that camp are things that we still talk about today. We talk, just about how important it is to represent the people of Queensland in the right way, not just by winning, but just the way we actually play the game. And whatever happens out there, just a never say die type of attitude. Probably the big change is probably the social offside element, like off the field element. Like 2003, you was able to have a good time away from the field. These days, it's very much a bit. It's all business. The guys have a lot of media commitments in the early part of the camp. They're so professional. Like the professionalism of the guys these days is amazing. Like they're never switched off to themselves. So even when we finish training, they're doing, ice bath, saunas, stretching. They get up the next day. They're swimming. The way that the elite players look after themselves these days, again, it's probably one of the progressions in the professionalism of the game as well.
Josh, before we let you go, you've been amazing. I just want to ask you, I mean, you've done that head coaching role twice as interim head coach, certainly carving your own specific path. Is a head coaching role in your future? Is that where you're driving to, or are you just looking at what you're doing here and now?
Yeah, it's a good question, Mano, and I hate answering it because I hate sort of talking about myself in terms of my coaching. Like I really get awkward talking about it. What I do know is I love what I do, and I feel like given what I do with Queensland and here at the Sharks, I feel like I found my calling in terms of what I do well, and where that leads me to, who knows, mate. Like I think I'm up to being a head coach? Absolutely. Like to me, I've got no doubt about that. But I'm also really, one thing that I'm clear on, mate, is that I think some messes are. It's like you look at some messes, which generally when you take a head coaching role, you're cleaning up someone else's mess, right? Unless someone at their peak decides to move on by their own volition, generally you're going in to clean up someone else's mess. And I think you've got to be really clear that you need to be clear on how bad that mess is and whether you're capable of cleaning up that mess. I think some are worse than others. So I think you've got to go in eyes wide open and not be a gunslinger and just look at it and go, I'm desperate to be a head coach. Yeah, I'll take the first job that comes along, and not be really aware of what you're stepping into. So when that time comes, mate, I won't step into a position unless I look at it with really eyes wide open and I'm really clear on what I'm stepping into, mate, because it's a tough gig, as we've spoken about, and you're seeing right now with Jackson Topine. It's unforgiving. It's brutal, and yeah, I'd want to be sure about what I'm walking into, mate.
And for a question you don't like answering, you answered it pretty fucking well.
That's a great
FYI.
That's a great point, though, because you're walking into an absolute scrap heap a lot of the time.
But I'm going to ask you this follow-up question, Josh. That's your answer here in 2024. You came into the NRL system as a coach in 2017. If I would have asked you that question at the end of 2017, how different would your answer have been?
Yeah, night and day, mate. I can't even reflect on the coach I was then and just how little I knew about the industry, about coaching, about clubland, and just through I think I've seen it all in my time as an assistant coach. Taken over from Greenie at the Cowboys, that was a circumstance unto itself, and then lo and behold, 6 months later, I moved to Cronulla, and I'm stepping in, for John Morris, and again that was a whole different set of circumstances. So I think I've seen a fair bit. I've experienced the good and bad of what this job throws up. Went to a grand final in 2017 with the Cowboys, and to be involved with State of Origin series victories the last 2 years with Queensland. So I've seen and experienced a lot, and yeah, certainly sitting here today, I'm far more. I have a greater level of awareness and respect for the job than what I would have in 2017, mate.
Mate, you've given us a huge amount of your time. Understand you're a busy man, and mate, just want to thank you for it, Jolie. You got some thanks. We appreciate who you are. We appreciate the insights you've given us, and yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing. The Sharkies are humming. You're certainly, as I said before, carving your own path and no doubt going to achieve great things, mate. So
Yeah, very grateful, mate. Very great. You get the over-the-head clap from today. No, look, really good insights across the board, Joshy. So thank you so much for taking the time. We'll just get you to do our tips for us, if you don't mind, just quickly. Sharks versus Dragons.
We'll take a win. We'll take any type of win on Sunday, mate. Yeah.
There you go.
It's meant to be bucketing down all week, so it could be a good old-fashioned slugfest on Sunday.
an old mid 80s state of origin in Sydney, just absolute slop everywhere.
Greg Dowling, wasn't it, under the posts?
Yeah,
GD. Yeah.
Wally to Greg Dowling. Well, mate, good luck. We love you here at the Grapple, mate, and all the very best.
Hey, thanks so much for your time, boys. You're doing an awesome job. Just next time I'm on, hopefully I get another invite. No Broncos jerseys, eh?
Not even the 2006 Premiership strip, Josh.
He's lucky there's a desk between us, mate.
Hey, take care, boys. Hey, keep up the good work.
Go on, brother.
Mate.
Thank you, mate.
Josh Hannay.
How good's that?
Awesome. Such good insights across the board. And I love what he had to say about his own career and some of those. You get it that early, and you've got this grail full of glory juice, and all of a sudden you sit back a little bit.
But I mean, not to the extent that he experienced, but it's funny if I look back reflect on the time I had at the Cowboys around that similar time. I never thought I'd made it, but I thought I'd done something.
Yeah.
And I was, you walked around, you were pretty fucking happy with yourself.
Yeah. And
then when Johnston came, far out, it was just like, oh man, I've done nothing. He broke us all down.
Yeah.
I think there was a couple of guys there who knew how to train, and we're like, oh yeah, they're freaks, but they weren't. They were just hard trainers.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all became the freaks.
Yep. And then that became the standard. That was normal.
Because after Johnston, I came down to Brisbane. I was on the peripheral Melbourne squad, so I was training with Norths here in Brisbane as the Melbourne feeder team, and I was blitzing everything. In conditioning, like everything.
Yeah.
And everyone's going, holy shit, look at this guy. And I'm like, man, I'm just...
This is just what you do.
Run of the mill.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I love what he said about Jackson Topine too. And that whole, your point there around your teammates and players and that, again, that standard being set, it's a really good point in all of this.
He won't, poor old Jackson Topine, he won't get another NRL contract. The poor guy. He's taken, in my opinion, we're allowed to give opinions here.
I reckon we could throw out a couple.
He's taken the wrong path.
Yeah,
he thinks he was singled out for unfair treatment. Man, you know what? In a sense, I felt like I was singled out for unfair treatment. Every time I took a fucking hit up, I was singled out for unfair treatment because I was getting bashed by people.
Good, Lazarus.
Yeah.
Ruben Wiki.
Mate, Matt Rua once hit me so hard that my kidneys nearly came out my mouth.
Uh-huh.
He was a fucking axe.
And the next day, Manning launches...
against unfair treatment by a Melbourne Storm second rower who was just cutting people in half. Those hits where your back teeth are rattled.
And look, in all of this, I do want to qualify the young man, obviously, emotional, mental distress. I'm not, for 1 second, making any jokes about that whatsoever.
No.
His well-being, and we do wish him all the best. But what you're saying is the cold, hard fact. You're damaged goods to another club, aren't you? You're not worth the risk as far as your NRL future is concerned.
It's a really unfortunate situation. I just wonder if he's just had some really bad advice. I wonder if he's been a victim of that. Now, the thing is, I'm pretty sure I said this last week. Being an NRL player, it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really, 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 really hard. Being an elite at any sport is really, really hard. It takes a lot. It takes... As I said, you got to take yourself to places you didn't think you could go. You know what? You don't want to go there, but you got to go there.
And it breaks more than. Look, I'm not pointing at you saying it broke. I'm just saying.
No, don't worry, it broke.
But you know what I mean. It does. Yeah. There are that many people that aspire that don't get there. Credit to them for getting as far as they can or whatever. But only a few get to that level. And whether you play 1 games or 400 games.
And look, it's cutthroat. It's brutal. For coaches as well, we're seeing JD being shown the door by the Rabbitohs. He was the anointed one by Uncle Wayne, and now he's being shown the door. It's brutal. It's a performance-driven industry.
Mm. And look, the whole Topine thing, the stories about players being there on that day when, when the trainer was making him, Matt Timu was doing that stuff and he was making him do the wrestles. And the story is that teammates were sort of, is that enough? Has he had enough and stuff like that? Does that sound accurate to you? Is that the sort of thing? Like obviously you go into battle together, the proverbial battle together, you stick up for one another.
I've never seen that.
I found that a little bit interesting because I thought...
If I don't know, I wasn't there, don't know.
Yeah,
but I've never seen I think he's had enough. No one's going to tell Billy Johnston that someone's had enough. Josh talked about the bike ride, right?
Yeah. The Tour de France in Townsville,
The only worse thing than being injured under Billy is being suspended. Because the injury crew, you just got hammered. But it was great. I learnt to love it. Oh, it terrified me, but man, I just learned to love it. Loved that, just that absolute shellacking you'd get at training. And I miss that. I miss that feeling of where you're sitting in your car and you can barely lift your arms to drive home. I miss that feeling.
Yep.
You get a little bit addicted to it. But no one, I don't reckon anyone would ever tell Bill, no, we've had enough.
Yeah. Not live to tell the tale.
No,
anyway.
no. And Bill had groups. He had blokes doing boxing with actual amateur boxers.
Yeah.
So blokes getting shit punched out of them every week. You had a triathlon group, you had an athletics group, and you had a boxing group. I think there might have been one or two others. But the boxing group were going and getting punched up by amateur boxers.
Wow.
Training in a boxing gym.
Yeah.
The triathlon group, that was me, low impact. We're doing swimming, bike riding, a bit of running, not as much running. The athletics group is Matt Singh. He's doing fucking 100 sprint.
9.8 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. So, I've never seen anyone, I'm just trying to think, where they've stepped in and said, no, he's had enough. But I mean, I've seen guys on the ground nearly pass out. I've seen guys throwing up. Seen guys. I've nearly passed out. I've nearly thrown up. I can remember doing a training session at 3 p.m. in Townsville in like fucking January.
Yeah.
We're doing 100-meter sprints, and feel like I've got heat stroke.
Did Billy ever make everyone get in on a punishment like in this allegation?
Not that I saw. No.
Yeah.
No. But I mean, but they call it shark bait. It's a well-known drill called shark bait.
Yeah.
I've got a buddy who played at Melbourne after me, and he said, "Oh, we just did that. There wasn't a punishment. We just did it."
Yeah.
There's a drill that I've seen. It's kind of like a gladiator drill, so to speak, where it's like a 10-meter square. You got two defenders, one guy with the ball, 60 seconds, and he's got to try and get to the try line. If he gets tackled, he turns around and goes the other way.
Yeah.
So it's 10-meter square. So all you're doing is up and back over 10 meters, and it's the job of the two defenders to fucking bash him.
To smash him, yeah.
Bash him as hard as you can. Get him on the ground, push his head into the dirt, get up, then he gets up, he retreats, and he goes again.
And what, he can only stop when he gets through? Or
Yeah. So if he gets tackled, he retreats to the other end.
Yeah.
The defenders turn around, he goes again.
Yeah.
He gets tackled. If he gets through, they just keep going.
Wow.
And sometimes that 60 seconds goes for about 2 minutes.
But then the next time that Matty Rua puts one on you and your kidneys are coming out your teeth, you're sort of going, okay, that's why that we're doing such drills. That's why those drills are they're difficult but maybe necessary to an extent.
Let's move from this, because I find this interesting, and I find it segues into things like the rule changes that we're dealing with. So let's go into that.
I'm going to ring a bell here because you've been doing a bit of work.
Oh, okay, let's do it. Okay,
You've been doing a bit of work.
So let me preface this by saying player safety is an issue we all have to be aware of, and we all need to be focused and understanding that there are elements in the game where if a player's safety is compromised, there needs to be action taken.
Yeah.
No doubt. Spear tackles, head highs, all of that stuff. I would put into that category 6 against, 7 tackle sets. You're compromising player safety.
Yes.
Remove it from the game. You want to remove head highs? Don't make players as tired. Slow the game down. Get rid of 6 against, get rid of 7 tackle sets. The big thing now, and I've heard, I think it was Dean Ritchie, maybe on one of those footy shows where they're talking heads.
Now, Bulldog.
Yeah, and There's also a fella who's not there anymore on that
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
interesting.
See how
isn't
I
it?
tweaked that line a little bit?
Yeah, now, yeah. Anyway, he's having some time away.
Time in the trees, quite literally, and a lot of players coming out and saying, "Look, if you dish it out, you need to model the behaviour that you're talking about."
There certainly is a live by the sword, die by the sword, I guess, response to that particular situation.
Do you want a bit of PK? A bit of gum in my pocket. No, all good, no worries. Okay, so carry on. So player safety.
Okay, so he's come out and said, not in as many words, but he's jumped on this the kickoff bandwagon, which has been driven by media. The NRL has not come out and said we're looking at banning the kickoff. To my knowledge, I'm an idiot. But so he's come out and he's driving this, and he's like, no, things have got to be done. They don't. Do you know how many kickoffs we've had since the start of the season, Joel?
Oh, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
How many kickoffs?
600?
549 kickoffs.
Okay, yep.
All right, since up to round 8.
I'm going to type this
Now
down,
this
yep.
could be give or take. All right, give or take. But I'm going at 549 kickoffs. Okay, 64 games so far. So there's 2 kickoffs per game. So that's 128. And then there's been another 321 with penalty goals, drop goals, try scored.
Math checks out.
You with me?
Yep.
How many HIAs, genuine HIAs have we had in that 549 kickoffs?
Off a HIO from a kickoff.
Yeah.
Player running back and getting I could maybe think of one, maybe.
2.
There's been 2.
So it's Jacob Preston.
Yeah,
who
Jacob
Dogs
Preston.
broke his jaw.
Yep.
And Moses Sully on the weekend.
Yep.
Who's, as James Graham, who is the voice of reason, has pointed out, was actually Jaden Sewer who banged him into Jared Warrior-Hargraves.
Yes,
So it wasn't the guy running the ball. It was the guy, his own teammate banged him into him, bang, knocked out.
as a lot of these do come from as well.
No one wants to see that, okay? No, but you know what people do want to see? Kickoffs.
Yeah.
They do want to see that big front row getting off the back fence, running into people. Right now, if these guys maybe try and tackle him low, fair enough. I'm all for that. But we're looking at games with an average of about 8.5 kickoffs per game, and we're looking at a HIA every 274 kickoffs.
So the argument, or your point being on the maths numbers you've crunched, is that the argument about player safety does not apply to kickoffs based on the fact that
the burden of proof isn't there.
Do we see the concussion?
Now, let's say I've missed one. Let's say it's 3 HIAs of kickoff.
Sure.
That's still a HIA every 183 kickoffs.
Yes. And look, you know what? I had a similar argument when we were talking about the speed of the game and some of the numbers and some of the improvements they were talking about being that marginal that I wasn't sure it justified the amount of set restarts and the amount of injuries we were seeing. This argument, I think, is even stronger because one in 200, my maths is terrible.
One in 274 kickoffs.
274, yeah.
We've seen an HIA. But if I've missed one, because I am an idiot, if it's 3, it's 1 every 183. Okay. Now, someone's going to say, well, that's too many.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. Because, we're playing, I'm going to use this terminology again, a high-speed collision sport where bodies are running at each other at high speeds under fatigue. Someone's going to get knocked out. You know what? It mightn't even be from a high shot or a head clash. Someone's going to get hit around the ribs there and the whiplash is going to knock them out, or their head against the ground is going to knock them out. We remove the kickoff. Once again, we're not playing rugby league. And I think at the moment we need to make a clear distinction between the game we watch on TV, which is NRL, and rugby league, which is what's played in the parks on the weekend.
Yes, absolutely. Look, on that, even if it was 4, that's still 137 kickoffs per. That's 5 would be 110, roughly.
Okay, so that's 137 kickoffs, right? Let's do another quick bit of math. So that's if it's 4. So I'm going to do this by the average. That's still 16 games, every 16 games on average kickoffs.
Yep.
So if the average kickoff is about 8.5 kickoffs per game, and it's 137, if there's 4 that we've missed 2, that's still 1 every 16 games.
Yeah, doesn't justify the discussion. And look, James Graham, tough old bulldog for sure. His share of
head knocks
for sure.
Mate, he bit someone's ear too. Let's not forget.
He did bite an ear. did bite an ear. He had
Bill,
that in
he
him.
bit Bill's ear.
had that
You
in
can't bite Bill's ear.
Of all the years.
Anyhow.
But look, for him to come out on this, it's like these are the sort of points where past players are starting to sort of say, oh, things might need to.
Now, it's funny that in all of this, it's the players who are the voice of reason.
Yeah.
I
I find it fascinating.
Anyway.
No, really good research there. Thank you, Dr. John Forbes
research.
Nash.
Look at that.
Yeah.
We need a graphic or a theme song.
Yeah, you got numbers all going around.
Goodwill Hunting on a window.
Yeah.
Have you met my friend? My friend Russell.
Well, I can't remember what his imaginary friend's name was, but whatever it was.
Yeah.
You're failing, John. You're not. That was really good. But look, good point. But look, we did see Luke Keary this week, the latest, medical retirement along.
Well, it's not
those
medical.
lines.
He's just had enough.
He's had enough,
But he's given up, a lot of money per year. So is that the melon talking? Maybe he's had a couple of big old
$800,000 given up. But yeah, not medical. Dale was. This guy was I just got to. I've had enough. But we have seen him
knocked out a bunch.
stumbling off the field and whatnot quite a bit over the years. So that's the sort of thing where it's like, those kind of areas. None of that, I don't think, has come from a kickoff for him. You don't see Luke Keary charging back from
At least the players are making these wise decisions now.
Yeah.
They're not playing on until they're going to be, punch drunk.
That's
great.
What a good line of thinking that is. Instead of using them as our little finger puppets in this play, in this opera, maybe listen to this pantomime. Absolutely. Instead of using them as your chess pieces, your pawns.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about the back of the board. I'm talking about the front of the board.
Yeah.
Maybe listen to them.
I think so. Like, we've got these guys, they're not as dumb as everyone thinks.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think Daly Cherry Evans can afford the $750 fine that he got from the judiciary?
Jeez, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one for him. He's got a couple of kids. They need to eat. They need shoes.
What do you think of that whole clean skin argument? Like, at the end of the day,
I'm all for it.
trouble?
Like, I'm all for the repeat offenders versus, hey man, he's been playing forever. It's his first charge, isn't
Better
it?
with that first charge, first visit.
And it's not like, and if you look at the tackle, it was with Olukuwatu as well. It wasn't just him.
Yeah.
He was part of it, but he didn't pick him up on his own and turn him on his head. He was part of it, but I think that to me, that's a little bit of sanity prevailing.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Vonnie. I'm down here at Entertainment Headquarters for NRL HQ Judiciary, getting underway in about 4 hours from now. Daly Cherry Evans is expected to appear, given who's been charged. It'll be the first time he's been here, and my money says that he might get in trouble or he might get off. Back to you.
Thanks, Hoops, for that insightful comment.
All good.
You ever notice
It's all about the nuance.
You ever notice that he gives a pitch report? Yeah. he's like Tony Gregg.
Give him some keys.
He needs a key. He's like,
A little bit of dew on the field down here. It's a lovely 23 degrees. There's a little bit of breeze coming from the left that's going to blow over the shoulders of the Broncos. Yeah. As I was walking in to Leichhardt, he'll always give...
Oh, sorry, Hoops. I thought you were on the 16th at Augusta. My bad. You at Leichhardt, are you?
And sometimes he comes up with these bullshit sort of human interest stories, like
Charlie Staines, his father's driven in from Forbes, and he started a bit of a tradition by bringing in a basket of turnips that the Tigers eat before every game. It's proven to be their good luck charm.
Tigers, turnips. Benji absolutely loves them.
It's every time
they
cross down to him, I'm like, what? I don't give a fuck if there's dew on the ground.
Where are we headed with this?
Like, this is like really? Is it just Ennis and Vossi up in the box going, we need a fucking break. Cross to
just
Hoops.
give us a minute to
like
breathe.
Sipping a drink.
But it's also like it's television. Most of the time we can see the conditions and you've got a good idea of what's happening. It's pissing down rain. It's quite clear. It's going to be a wet game. It's going to be one of those probably tight sort of, tuck it under the arm kind of games.
Yeah, but, we'll just have a close look. I've got the Bureau of Meteorology on the other line here. Going to go live to them for a pitch update and get the full conditions and the forecast for next week as well, because we'll get a couple of conditions ahead around 10.
Is it wet down there, Hoops? Greg Norman.
Yeah,
Great goal shot, Greg Norman.
130-0.
Oh, yuck.
In the Mal Meninga Cup. So
QRL.
a lot of people, a lot of reporting around this was, oh, geez, Broncos sensation, successor to Adam Reynolds, Kobe Black, and had an absolute field day. He did. He had a hell of a day out.
That's a 70-minute game too.
It's a 70-minute game of footy, 130-0.
Poor old White Bay. What are you doing? I mean,
mate.
You know what? It's funny. You know, in America, in American sport, there's a couple of things. One's called the mercy rule. They actually have that in a lot of their sports. The other one is that if you look at the NFL, this is the top echelon of professional sport in the USA. There is a gentleman's agreement that they don't run up the score. Now, it doesn't always happen, but it's considered poor form if you do what they call run up the score. So if in NFL, passing is where you score a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That's how you get the big chunks of yardage.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, if you're up by, 30 points in the fourth quarter, you run the ball.
Yep.
It's not as much of a gentleman's agreement as it used to be, but that's called running up the score, and they consider it bad form.
I remember when the cross-code here, when the Socceroos put 31 goals on American Samoa.
They made a film about that.
They did. I'd take away Tini.
Yeah.
Last goal wins.
Michael F. Aspender, he's in it too.
He is. He plays the coach.
Yeah,
I remember I was watching it going, is that fucking... It is.
Yeah, anyway, carry on.
Yeah. I remember the narrative at that time as well was very much like, oh, gee, guys, well done to you.
But that's Australian sport. We're like foot on throat, which is fine. But
Yeah.
I think in something like Melbourne Cup, I think you call that game.
Just call it 130-0. Like, what's that do? Those Wide Bay Bulls guys, like they're still in the Melbourne Cup prospects.
They should not be. They shouldn't be.
What's going on, though?
That should be.
How are they?
That's an elite competition.
How are they there?
They shouldn't be.
What
That's garbage. You know, Wide Bay. A lot of great players have come from Wide Bay, but they don't have a huge population or infrastructure to put an elite team in of 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
I think that's garbage. They should be in a second-tier comp. It's no good for anyone.
Yeah, I love what you said. Look, questions to be asked and answered there because it's not.
They won't be answered.
It's not good.
That'd be
It's not
some
good
garbage.
to see. And you know, we've had some leadership changes in the QRL in the last few years as well. And look, I think they've done some good things. This is one where I'm sort of asking, what are you thinking?
The other
creating a
thing
matchup like
I would
this?
say is the dissolution of representative football up until, from grades 12s, 13s, 14s, they have this RISE program. So I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but my understanding is there's no rep footy.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an issue come 15 years' time with our State of Origin team.
Well,
Anyway,
pathway's a little bit difficult to
Yeah.
clear up. Anyway, welcoming the Dolphins to
Yay!
the desk this week. There it is in living colour. It's the foundation jersey for the Dolphins. Thank you very much, to the
Beautiful.
Dolphins.
Well done.
For that one. Now, also a fin, because we went to the fins on the. Did you bring yours? Because I got you one.
I don't have one.
You didn't take it home.
No.
I told you to look after it. That's what.
I don't do merch.
No, you don't.
I do
It's like, I got your
jerseys.
fin. You want a fin? You just go, I don't want a fucking fin. Get it out of my face. Anyway, that was one of the games we said, forget about it. The Dolphins, forget about it. Easy. Easy win over the night.
They stunk.
That was a stinker.
Didn't we see before the game, it's like Anzac round, didn't we pick it? They're sitting there, there's a moment's silence, stirring reprisal of the last post, the ode to the fallen soldiers.
Yeah, yep. And well done across the
Amazing.
round. Yeah,
across
for
the
sure.
entire round.
Yep.
What a great round.
Clapple.
Big clapple for NRL across the entire round. But the Dolphins are all just standing there, sort of, like that. Knights, arm in arm.
Weren't they? Dane Gaga absolutely ripping like
They were just arm in arm, right? And then last post plays, moment silence, break up. Dolphins go and run a few drills to warm up again. Knights just got in a circle, arm in arm.
Yeah. Al Pacino and Denzel Washington in the middle of the circle.
Yeah.
Both of them were actually there. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, we got a team.
Yeah.
The Knights.
I'm talking about Denzel in Remember the
Remember the
Titans, but
Titans.
also in
Training day.
training Hurricane, and he got game. He said, "Where you going? Where you going? You haven't shot a 3 yet. Get back out here." Look, I always Darwin. They were good in Darwin, but did that leave a little bit of a physical dent?
Oh no, it's one of those things that it's still the mind boggles that in this day and age at this level of competitive sport, professional sport, you can tell the team that's there mentally versus the team that's not. You can tell.
And look, you made
can
the
just
point.
tell.
We were there. The Grapple was there.
Yeah.
And you made the point. It was a really good point. They
Thanks
were-
to Big Dog Pet Foods.
Yeah, shout out Big
Shout
Dog
out
Pet
Big Dog
Foods.
Pet Foods.
Absolutely delicious. I had it that night. No, really good team there. And actually, you know what? Some good points they made to me, which has made me sort of make some slight tweaks.
Tweaks
my
to how
dog's
you
diet.
feed your dog. Good
Yeah,
for you.
100%. So, mate, we need to get better. We need to lift.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to start with the Rabbitohs Panthers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Of all the teams you want to come up against in a week like this,
Unbelievable. But do they? Is this the Panthers look beatable in that second
they
half
do.
against the Cowboys?
yeah,
Okay.
Cowboys.
All right.
I felt for the Cowboys. Oh,
Okay. So
you're doing it.
I'm doing it.
You're going to do it. I love it. Good on you.
I'm going Souths right
gonna-
there.
okay.
Well, who are you going?
I'm-
Come with me. Hey. Come with me. Come on.
They
Come on.
looked beatable, but
Come on.
fucking hell.
Come on.
You
Come
know
on.
what? All right.
There we go.
Go on, put it down.
Put it down.
Hear it on the grapple.
Fill
Go
it
the
up
Rab-
again.
Go the Rabbitohs. Hey, you ain't shot a 3 yet. Okay. Sea Eagles and the Raiders.
Oh.
Look, matched around last week. Didn't turn in the match around. Raiders must bounce back here. They must.
And I think they will. I'm going to go Raiders.
You like the Raiders?
I don't like them at the moment, but I think they've got to win. Just like the Titans had to win, right?
Yeah.
They had to win, and they did. So, look, I'm gonna say who's in, who's out.
Yeah, look.
Chevy Stewart's out. Albert Hopewato's in at fullback. Elliot Whitehead comes back.
Yeah.
Nick Kotrick's back on the wing.
That's probably my best in for them is Kotrick coming back. But
Okay, let's do that.
You're gonna go Raiders?
I'm going to go Raiders.
look, I've got to go Manly.
No, and I understand that. I'm not sitting here arguing with you.
No, that's all right.
Yeah,
We don't argue.
we don't.
We don't argue. We just don't talk.
We just ignore each other. Broncos, Roosters.
Broncos Roosters boosted by Wolf Mother.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they're playing.
that's
They're
great.
back. I love it. Excellent.
Jet played there a few weeks ago as well.
did.
Hey, Broncos
Doing good.
with your match entertainment.
Grapple.
Clapple.
Yep. Fantastic.
done.
Really good.
Hey, Wolf Mother,
Yeah, Wolf Mother.
fucking awesome.
Absolute rockets. Yeah.
Ezra Mann back. Selwyn Cobbo back.
Yep.
Michael Tupou back. Tupanua on the extended bench. Radley back. Radley on the extended bench too. Okay, Connor Watson holds on to the 13, I suppose, after banging 60 points off.
Oh yeah.
On the
Don't fiddle with it, basically.
oh man, you know what I'm going to tip here?
Yeah, go on.
Golden Point.
You like it for a genuine tidy. Okay.
Okay, I'm tipping Golden Point right there.
Okay.
Tigers, Bulldogs.
I got Broncos, by the way.
You going Broncos?
I just think they've hit a patch at the moment. And I tell you
I
what,
like the look of that Roosters team.
I do. They're a bloody good team. I do. I just think we were shit in Vegas.
Yeah,
We've been stewing on it all this time.
yeah.
No, I just thought the way the Tigers weren't completely appalling at Campbelltown. Brisbane were just, that was like the taller boxer just holding
Yeah.
them and just holding them at bay.
This is apart from probably one or two games. This could be the hardest round to pick.
It's a tough round. Yeah, Bulldogs and Tigers I'm going to say Tigers to come back. Benji has shown a little bit of Benji has been a bit of disdain.
I'm
I
going,
got the shots.
I'm going Tigers with you.
Yeah, Tigers, Titans, and Storm.
Tough one.
Hey, you know what? Credit where it's due. There is absolutely
great.
no way they can win against the Warriors
And they
over
did.
there on Anzac Day. That defense in the last 15 minutes,
It was unbelievable.
season setting
But
stuff.
and also this week with remove Tino, this is the strongest lineup that they've fielded all year.
Yeah, it is.
This is a really, really strong lineup for the Titans, but the Storm are going to win.
Yeah, I think the
Moneyball Storm.
Yeah, good one. 100%. Moneyball on the Storm. Cowboys.
I
Can the Finns bounce back? They need halves. They've got a half. They need a 5'8", desperately.
And it's going to be I know it's May, but that was freaking humid up there last weekend. I think they're going to get another just horrible humid game.
So 3 humid games in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys get them.
I think the Cowboys do get him, but I think I love the Dolphins. I want them to do well. Cody Nicarima is a fantastic player.
He's not a
six, and I feel that they've got some big scores coming up.
And
against them.
the Cowboys found something last week.
They did.
They found 18-4 at halftime against Penrith. That's 2 weeks ago. That's 40-4,
Yep.
40-10. They came back well.
Knights beat a awful Dolphins outfit, but I don't think they can beat the Warriors.
Warriors have slid.
They have.
They've lost 2 or 3 in a row too.
And they shouldn't. Like the loss last week was are you actually kidding me kind of loss. They're welcoming Kurt Capewell back, I believe.
I think they win.
You've got them winning.
And I feel like this Sharks-Dragons game is personal from both teams.
Dragons are... That was... as far as Anzac Day, it doesn't matter. It's not, but those two, the scores, other than the Titans,
Monster.
104 points across those two games scored.
Bonkers.
60 points conceded.
Now, I said that. I think I said at the start of the year, the Dragons are going to be the team. They're going to be win loss, win loss, win loss, and win loss, pretty much. I think they're going to go loss here.
Yeah, I do too.
They're going to come in. They're going to throw everything at the Sharks, and Flano's going to, Flano's in a press conference after having 60 put on him, and they ask him about facing the Sharks, and he says, "Oh, I won a premiership there. They haven't won one since, but I don't want to make it about me." You just did.
You just did.
So
you absolutely no one did that but you, Flano.
Yeah. So look, and he's very much going to make it about him.
How much are Dragons power brokers? How much is the Dragons Death Star starting to go? For fuck's sake, can you stop talking about the club that you coached all those years ago? Can you stop referencing them? Can you stop alluding to them?
It's like he's talking about his ex all the time. Like, hey, I'm right here.
Exactly.
I'm right here. You don't have to talk about her.
He's literally, it's like the beautiful walks we used to have along the beach. And I remember when I used to cook the boys.
She would never talk to me like that. The Sharks would never talk to me like that. The Sharks would never put 60 on him have 60 put on him on Anzac Day.
They were really good around the house too, just little handy jobs. But that's okay. You have other talents.
The Sharks won a premiership for me. You got 60 put on you on Anzac Day.
I'd love you though.
But
I love you so much, Sharagans.
I'm over them.
Yeah. So, oh please, I love you. I love you so much. I love you so much, Dragons. What did you say?
Hey, wait.
Sharks.
What? Sharks, Dragons.
Okay, I'm going to go the Sharks in that one. And you know what? Look, Josh Hannay, we've had it from the master himself. You can't tip against the Sharks when he's tipped the Sharks, obviously.
He tipped the Sharks, yeah. So.
Let's see if we can prove this is the Grapple podcast. I'm going to give Parramatta the benefit of the doubt for the bye as well. I reckon they'll probably get the chockies this weekend. They'll sneak home. Will Brad Arthur be the next coach to feel the brunt?
Well, they're going to be looking for someone, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Now that they've got their scalp of JD, who's next?
Does Wayne Bennett coach again next year?
Yeah, 100% he does.
He does.
I haven't made a decision about my future. Got a few more games to coach here with the Dolphins, and we're just looking to finish this season well.
I love him. I genuinely love him. But he's, working in the media, and you'd probably know this too, he's a coveted interview because he's hard to get.
You saw the game.
Yeah.
You tell me what went wrong. I don't really worry about that. I think he's a good player. He's doing all right. I don't want him to get too far ahead of himself. He's doing all right.
Got it. This is that really well done. This is you chase. You get Wayne. Your team gets very excited. You've got Wayne. They listen to the interview later and go,
we can't use that.
We can't understand him. He doesn't say anything. I love him to bits.
What's the strategy about coaching, Wayne?
Just a bunch of guys that try and get together and play a bit of footy. Try and get on all do the same thing, and hopefully we get a win on the weekend.
I just love it's like Wayne. Good performance today.
Yeah, it was.
Were you happy with it?
Were you happy with it?
Yeah, I loved it. You know he taught who to speak, how to. Clearly not me. Yeah. Who he instructed on coach speak. The one and only Anthony Griffin. Absolutely cut from the cloth.
Yeah, correct.
He's
look, we're just trying to play football, really.
And they're all cut from the Bill Belichick cloth. You want to see where Wayne got it from? Yeah. Go listen to some old Bill Belichick.
It goes back.
Fantastic.
The legacy lives on. This is the Grapple, Johnny.
We're done. Are we done?
I reckon we're done.
I think that's it. That's a big episode, but we needed to do that. So.
Yeah, mate, it's a baker's dozen.
Baker's dozen,
pleasure.
Mate.
Privilege.
All right, should we hug it out?
Let's hug it out. Like, share, subscribe.
Do everything.
I have to say.
What?
Congratulations to Trish, who correctly guessed
What?
that I was wearing the 98 Parramatta Eels jersey.
98 Parramatta Eels.
Parramatta
jersey.
Eels. So well done. As I mentioned,
I gave
Trish.
that away. We should have done another
Yeah,
one
no,
with this.
so did I, because I was trying to defend the honour of the Broncos. This is the 2006
All right, I'm going to wear a
strip.
jersey next week.
Okay,
If you can guess it, I will buy you a beer.
there you go. There you go. That's a good deal.
There you go.
That's a really good deal. Special shout out to Hannay as well, who is getting on board for some merchandising. So keep your eyes out. Grapple merchandising.
Thank you to everyone listening. We love you.
Woohoo! Hug it out.